up, everybody? Happy 2021. I'm just checking in real quick. I haven't done a video in a long time, so one of my New Year's resolutions this year is to be more regular with this and actually like try to make an effort at staying in contact with everybody. The past year's been pretty weird, obviously, right? Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you guys are all safe and COVID free. I actually even got tested. I thought I might have had it, but it turned out to be a cold, so that was nice. But yeah, hope everybody's doing well. Looking forward to hopefully this year going back to normal and we can stop wearing masks and we can play shows again. That's one of the biggest sort of letdowns this year was we came out with a new album and weren't able to do any shows based around it. We did one show that was fun with the Writhers it was like a streaming show on the Writhers YouTube channel, and we went down to a bar in San Diego called the Tower Bar, which is a cool spot, and got to do like a little show there, but still not the same as live music. So hopefully we'll be back to doing that soon enough, if any venues even survived all this nonsense and government overreach and tyrannical control of every aspect of our lives. So here's basically what I wanted to talk about in my little video today. So just to kind of give some updates and stuff as far as what's happening. We came out with our new album last year, this one right here, Into This Abyss, and it's still available on our Bandcamp. There's a few left. So far, it's been doing pretty good. I'm super excited about it. This one was probably easily the longest we ever worked on a project. It took us forever to do. And that's what's sort of leading into this next one. So this actually started years and years ago, and we do have very long time periods between releases because we're not trying to be a professional band. We do things on our own time and our own dime. So we have to typically we fall into I think as a band we typically fall into this pitfall of being able to do it all ourselves, which is awesome and freeing creatively and allows you to have absolute control over everything, not be rushed, not feel like you're sitting, if you're paying for studio time and you're watching the minute hand click by because you're paying for this time, and you're having to get a perfect take immediately every time. The drawback though to doing it all yourself is that because you have infinite time, you tend to take up way more time than necessary. So that album actually started years and years ago. Some of the songs were all done not at once, different recording sessions, different sort of different years between certain songs. And my biggest challenge, in between starting this album, I put out 2 end CDs for my other band, which is an electronic-y, punk-ish type thing. The biggest challenge I have for making music isn't so much the writing the music itself. That's sort of more fun, and it's just a result of sitting there noodling around on guitar and trying to come up with cool sounding riffs or stuff that I think is cool. And I can write that much faster than I can lyrics. Lyrics are always my biggest challenge, and because I tend to get too sort of precious about them, where I'll write a riff that I like and I'm like, oh, this is gonna sound great, and I have high hopes for. And so what I end up doing is laboring over the lyrics because they have to be perfect. They've got to be exactly they've got to be amazing. I've got to feel so proud after I wrote them. And so that was one of the major things that slowed down the last album. And even towards the end, when I realized this too when I was doing a lot of stuff for when I was working on my end project, is that I work way better under some kind of self-imposed deadline. If I tell myself I have to have something written and done, I'll kind of make it happen. If I just write a cool song, I tend to, especially the way that I'll usually demo things out is on the same DAW and computer system that we do the album on. So I've got all these plugins, and you know, you can sit and noodle around with trying to find the perfect guitar tone or perfect bass tone or you know, whatever. Go scroll through like endless VST synths looking for some cool tone that kind of fits, and then messing with that and trying to make it your own and all that kind of thing. You sort of fall down this rabbit hole of like constant little teeny tiny adjustments that really, when I was honest with myself, I realized they're all just kind of ways for me to procrastinate and focus on writing lyrics. And so what I used to do back in like when, you know, I was a younger lad and had a lot more, I don't know, it was much easier for me to come up with lyrics. I would just always carry around a notebook and always jot down ideas. But over time, I don't really have time for that. And I always just still carry a notebook just in case, you know, inspiration strikes, but inspiration doesn't really strike. So I have to force it out. I've got to choke slam it into submission. So my new process, what I've decided, and this is why I'm recording this video, is kind of like show you guys first how to do it, and then also maybe for other people that are out there that make music and stuff, it might be maybe helpful tips and tricks. I've realized that whether I spend weeks and months on a song and just sit there and pour over the words and whatever, or if I just force myself to get something done in a day, they both end up being the same. Like, I don't get any better the longer I work on it. Whatever, usually the faster I work, it tends to be just as good or bad, depending on whether you like it or not, as something I spend forever on. So I've realized if I can write basically the same kind of lyrics in a day as I can over a year, I might as well just force myself to do it in a day and be done with it. And then if I hate it, you know, I'll go back and mess with it. There's always been some like lyrics that I'll listen to and kind of cringe and go, it's like a poor choice of words, or sounds kind of unintelligent or whatever. There's a few songs in our canon that I'm just like, oh god, this is so dumb. But for the most part, you know, I'm fairly proud of what I've written down. It's not, you know, I'm not trying to pretend that I'm like the world's greatest lyricist, but also I don't want to do something that I think is cheesy or dumb or pointless. Like, I want it to have some meaning, and it has to have some kind of relevance and come from inside and be honest and not just be, you know, I don't want to write about something that doesn't matter to me. So I typically is about, you know, being pissed off at overarching control systems or some form of like self-loathing or introspective stuff or whatever. But not everybody is gonna like everybody's work. So some people might think the stuff I write sucks, and other people might think it's really good. But I at least try to make sure that it's like something that I'm proud of and something that I want to record and like make in some form of permanent, you know, physical emanation, like either a CD or a record or whatever. Anyways, so this is like a long-winded explanation about like why I started doing this. The new record that we're working on now, or I've started working on now, is this whole new process that I came up with. So basically, after we put out this one, so this was like back in October of 2020 when this finally came out. So we finished working on it, I guess, probably in all said and done, probably I'm guessing like early summer or late spring or whatever, was when all the recording and everything was finished. And so that last sort of push for the process was like basically us just saying, we've got to finish recording this stuff. We needed to finish some guitars. We needed to, like the way I'll usually do a demo, and the way we did all these is we had riffs written, so like, and Danny, our drummer, came in, so I recorded all the drums with him, and I played guitar, and then I'd do like guitar scratch tracks, just so that there's something on the take, and then I would do the bass and sing on it and whatever. And then we still needed to redo the guitars with Tom so he could play on it, and then redo the keyboards and stuff that I did so that Jason and Tiff have their stuff on there, and then they can manipulate it and rewrite it in whatever way they want to add their little elements. But so we finished the actual recording. So it's been about 6 months, maybe longer, I don't know, since we probably 6 or 7 months since we totally finished it. So after we finished it, one of my goals was just to like, I wanted to quickly try to turn around. And the idea started out, let's just bang out an EP, because it would take so long between releases. It'd be so fun to just like knock something out. And then I got to start writing. So I basically, came up with a couple of riffs and stuff, and we started one song on the computer. And then I realized I was going to fall into the same sort of pattern as I normally do, where I just sit and noodle and tweak, VSTs and plugins and all that jazz. And I had a old 4-track recorder, which is an old school, like it's what I first recorded on ever back in my childhood in the 90s, before VHS and stuff like that, or VHS, before CDs were easily like burnable, before you could just record a DAW on a computer. You'd have like a 4-track and you'd record on good old-fashioned little cassettes. And so I wanted to get back into it, and I had a bunch of these old cassettes, so I bought a 4-track just basically so that I could dump these down to a computer and see what was on them. Lo and behold, after I finally got my 4-track and everything, I went through some of my old tapes, and I found out I had taped over like most of my old stuff from high school and everything, and so that stuff's lost to time. So the whole purpose of buying the 4-track in the first place was kind of lost. But then I started using it. I started listening. Actually, this really stemmed from listening to stuff like, I think I was listening to Hardcore Devo, and the album Hardcore Devo is their early stuff, volumes 1 and 2, and it's all like recorded in their own basement on a 4-track and stuff, and it's very, very different from the Devo that most people know from like the era of like the new wavy 80s, with like Whip It and stuff like that. The earlier stuff is much more like avant-garde, weird experimental kind of stuff, really dark. Still has that kind of like sense of humor that they have, but very like odd, strange stuff. And I read this really good book that was about Devo's early years and how they recorded, and sort of the change between like the early years Devo, the hardcore Devo era, to like modern Devo, especially once they got signed and started getting producers on their albums and stuff, and how it affects the sound and changes it. And they sort of lost a lot of that. They, in record companies want to have like a pop hit and a sheen on the album, and their old kind of gritty, darker stuff disappeared until fairly recently, where they, like a few years ago, when they did like a Hardcore Devo live album and played this stuff that they hadn't played since like the 70s. Anyways, so I've been listening to those records, which were all done not on a cassette 4-track, but on like a reel-to-reel 4-track. Still, you only have 4 tracks. Then I had been listening to Dark Throne and Transylvanian Hunger. Like, I'm not a massive like obsessive black metal fan, but I like black metal, and I like especially the more like gritty, grungy, lo-fi, cult sounding stuff. And I love Dark Throne just for that process of it was like Fenris borrowed a 4-track, as far as I know. I'm probably going to get fact checked and be wrong, but and recorded it in his bedroom. So he did pretty much everything himself, and then had the other guy do the vocals. And so it was, he recorded the drums with like 1 or 2 mics, did the bass, did the guitars, and then had somebody else sing on it. And the gritty, raw sound of that album is awesome. Sounds dreary and dark, and totally fits the aesthetic and the vibe. And what else had I been looking? There was like 3 or 4 things like back to back that I started listening to, these like 4-track based things, like recorded on cassette. And that made me go, well, I've got a 4-track. Why don't I try to I just wanted to make like a Dark Throne song, but not Dark Throne, my own sounding stuff. So I did it, and I set like, I didn't want to take forever on it. I don't want to sit and, try to like make it sound perfect, because that's not the idea. I wanted to knock something out. So I did, and it was like the most fun, totally reignited like the fun of recording for me. I still love, I always love recording. It's like, to me, that's even almost more fun than playing live. It's like the painting the picture type thing. But recording on the 4-track was awesome, because it's so immediate, and it's also so limiting intentionally that you can't get lost in the weeds and try to overthink things. And you have to play it correctly. That you have the option of sort of punching in, but not the same way you do in a computer. It's much more laborious, and you've got to be like right on timing when you punch in, or else you're going to tape over something that you already liked. So there's a lot of technique to it. It's almost like playing its own instrument. So anyways, I had a lot of fun doing that, and I made that song, so it occurred to me that this could be the process to do the new album. So going forward, over the next year, we're going to be working on a new album. And so it all started from the idea of doing it like this on a 4-track. And so what I've been doing is making these 4-track demos. And I'll show you like an example of one of those at the end of the video here. And so the way that a 4-track works essentially is it takes a cassette tape, which is typically 2 stereo sides. So if you've got, where did I put my little tape? So back in the dark ages, you know, when you had your cassette tape, you'd have side A and side B. Little kids like me with their little cassette Walkmans, you know, you'd rock out to your own little mixtape and then flip it over and listen to the other side. Or unless you had some high-end Sony Walkman, which had auto reverse or whatever. I loved cassettes. I mean, I still sort of love them. I bought a new cassette player that's not as good as the old days, but I buy stuff on cassette just because I like the format. I'm not a huge like cassette nerd. I prefer vinyl definitely over cassettes, but there's something charming and fun and cheap about them. They're cheap to make. So anyways, the way that a 4-track works is it divides these 2 stereo sides. Stereo is left and right. So it takes these 2 sides, plays both sides simultaneously, and then divides those left and rights into their own tracks. So you have 4. You've got a stereo left and right on one side and stereo left and right on the other side. So you assemble those together into 4 tracks. So the fidelity is less than, you know, it's not like some glamorous like analog, you know, 2-inch tape from, you know, some high-end analog tape studio. It's pretty crappy sounding, but not horrible, and it's definitely usable. And then I realized I had, over the years, you know, recording and stuff, I've accumulated a lot of gear that I never used, that I bought for, you know, that I thought would work and didn't really work that great for what I wanted. So I have like a small little blue tube. It's called, I think it's from PreSonus. It's like a little compressor and a little tube preamp. So those two together, they just sat there collecting dust forever. So I started using those to track vocals and was surprised at how much, like, how good it sounded. It really did. It's not perfect. I mean, it's not amazing, but it really brings out the you know, quality of the condenser mic and makes it sound like a more finished vocal than what I remembered from my childhood in the 90s, where I was just using like some cheap Radio Shack microphone plugged direct into the deck. So now I have enough stuff that I could sort of mess with it a little bit. I got a better amp for guitar recording and stuff, so I finally bought like my dream amp, which is like a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier, to get the guitar sound that I want. So it's been fun. So anyways, instead of doing my typical method of this long laborious process to like write a song, I've just been knocking these things out as fast as I can, which still takes, you know, a few days, and I don't have endless amounts of time, so I have to you know, pick and choose when I can do it. Sort of like my Tuesday ritual is to come out here after work and then try to work on some stuff and either write or record on my tape deck this stuff. So anyways, the process so far has resulted, I've got like 9 songs written, and I want to have like 10, maybe 11 songs to complete an album. They're pretty, because of the format, they're more like fast and punk and immediate feeling. And while these are all just demos, it's like such a faster process for me writing. So because the way it'll work is I'll write a riff, I'll program some drums on my computer, I'll dump the drums down to my 4-track. So I do have to start on a computer because I don't know how to play drums. But I do know how to program drums, and I like using like VST drum machines and stuff. And one of the ones that I use, which is super duper helpful, I've got a bunch, but the one that I use the most, it's called Addictive Drums. And it's like an actual drummer that played a bunch of or I don't know, maybe more than one guy, but probably, you know, a bunch of drummers played and recorded these really good takes that are all separated into MIDI files. So you can kind of like cut and paste them, make a basic song idea, and then mess with them and make them, you know, sit and tweak them out to the way that you actually want it. But they're great jumping off points as far as getting writing started, because it's like kind of a pre-built song that you can start with, at least to get an idea that's close to like what you're trying to do. So I'll start with that. I'll come up with like a riff, and then I'll get the drums exactly the way I want them, and move them around, and figure out what I want for a verse, what I want for a chorus, what kind of middle 8 part I want, if there's like a pre-chorus or an intro or whatever. And then you got to go in and sort of like adjust the drums so it's not the exact beat that's on there. But I've got a few like basic template ideas that I can use that similar in sound to the way that Danny plays drums, like a stock like punk kind of beat. And then so I'll dump those down to 1 track. So if you've got 4 tracks, 1 track then gets the drums. Then I'll come here and record my bass, and I just, instead of like the way I normally do bass, it's fun because I'm just miking up my amp, so it gets a real raw, distorted, growly sound because I use a distortion pedal and stuff, and that kind of brings out it makes it more growly sounding. So it's so that sounds cool. I record the bass, and I usually never mic up my bass amp, so it's kind of fun to do that. Usually I record direct into the computer and then add in the distortion and stuff that I want within the computer. But now it's just I'm doing exactly my live setup going in. And then once I have those 2 tracks, since I only have 2 more tracks, I want to record 2 guitars and my vocals, sometimes keyboards and stuff too. So what I'll have to do is take those 2 tracks, and then you do what's called, you bounce them. So you record these 2 tracks onto another track. So then so you have to mix the bass and the drums to basically where you want them level wise. And then you just record those 2, you print them to another track. So then you have 1 track now that just has the bass and the drums on there, and then you can record over those other tracks. So that 1 track now is bass and drums, and you have 3 open tracks. And because this is all like mono tracks, the only way I can get like a kind of stereo spread is by double tracking guitars and panning them hard left, hard right. So then after I finish the bass, then I'll record the guitars 2 times so I can get a double track guitar and pan them, and that kind of gives the feeling of a stereo spread. And then I have 1 last track left for vocals, and then I'll record the vocals. And I've been going through like I have some outboard gear that I can use. Like I've got a delay pedal. It's the Strymon Timeline. It's a nice high-end delay pedal that's stereo. So in the actual like effects mix in this, I can get a stereo delay, and I also have a stereo reverb, which does the same thing. So that also increases the perception of it being like a stereo recording. Sounds like surprisingly good and fun, and it's kind of got me like fired up to write and make these little songs. So today I'm here. I'm gonna do the vocals. I have one that I just finished recording the guitars and stuff for yesterday. And now I'm going to try to write some lyrics and record them, and I'll take a little video snapshot of that. So I'll pause this, and then I'll keep you updated on my progress. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, so I'm back, and this angle is not just for the benefits of that wonderful MySpace slimming angle. It's also to kind of show you the 4 tracks. So I wrote down, I think I've got like a chorus, I've got some verse ideas and stuff too, but I still need to kind of work on those a little bit to finalize them, but I'm gonna do a chorus. And so typically the way that like works best for me when I write is I write the music first, and then the music kind of dictates what the song is gonna be about, at least in tone. So this particular song, it's like a real quick and easy. It's short. It's maybe like 2 minutes long. It's got like a fast, upbeat kind of a vibe. Still kind of like heavier like verses that go into like a poppy melodic chorus. And so the rest of the album, one of the sort of themes that I'm trying to incorporate into all the lyrics has been, it's got like little threads of, I intentionally wanted to go like a more gothy route with this one. The last album kind of was dealing with like the allegory of like this cosmic horror, H.P. Lovecraft kind of a vibe, as a way to sort of, discuss themes of like regret and hubris and stuff like that. A guy that's like bent on finding something, but goes where he shouldn't go, both like within himself and externally in the like lyrics of the song. This album, as it's been progressing lyrically, is sort of, I've set out wanting to do, like like how I was saying, like Dark Throne was like the sort of inspiration. I want to do something that could have a stark black and white cover. I mean, I'm probably not going to be out in the wintry snowy forest with like a candelabra and a axe or anything, but something that kind of has that like dark, stark, black and white vibe. And then it's sort of, as each song is developed, there's kind of been like a little bit of an ongoing story, a little bit. And it's also a lot about like what's happened this year with the like, you know, pandemic and everything, and sort of the like watching like the whole just world go insane and watch this like just massive paradigm shift of the way that our society works and the fallout. I don't think anybody's really prepared for what's coming next. I mean, is it maybe a depression? Maybe who knows how many of these businesses are going to be able to survive after all of this, or what the sort of aftermath is going to be, what kind of horrors await us with governments trying to like wrest control of like every single thing that we do, and completely redefine how we are going to conduct ourselves in society, and sort of smash out the concept of individualism and bring us into this collectivist idea of it's all about, you know, society. We have to do, without going into a rant, that's sort of the central theme. It's always been a central theme of stuff that I write. There's always kind of this like outside force pushing down and crushing us. So that could be anything like from, you know, just being teased by bullies to like some globalist Illuminati cabal trying to control every facet of your life. And we're just little peasants and peons and serfs. Anyways, so this song in particular has kind of got like a little bit of an upbeat flavor, and this one, more than the other ones that I've written so far, has it's kind of got like a bit, it's sort of sounded to me like it's more uplifting. So I want, a lot of the stuff is not just about succumbing to the powers that be and allowing them to control us, but also finding a way to survive and navigate through this new world, and also prosper, or, you know, persevere. So here's how it works. So basically, got my little mic here. It's like an AKG something or other, and this is the 4-track. And so I've got on this channel, this is the drums and the bass on channel 4. On track 3, I've got one guitar, track 2, another guitar, and there's also a keyboard that I put on track 4. So track 4 has more pieces than normal. I don't like doing that too much, only because you get a lot of generation loss the more times you bounce. So the way I did this one is, as I was mixing the drums into this, I was also playing a keyboard line. So that becomes a little bit tricky and took a few takes, because I had to have the levels set right. I didn't want the keyboard to be totally overwhelming the drums as it recorded on the track, but I also didn't want the keyboard to be so buried that it wasn't there. So it took a few takes. So the first track originally was keyboards and drums. So then I did the bass, then I bounced that to a track, then I did the 2 guitars, and now I'm ready to try some vocals. And so you've got these, you have to like, you arm your little track. So mine's armed right now. I'm running through this blue tube. It's like a tube preamp and a compressor. And so basically the way if I would typically record into a computer is just go directly in with my mic, and then use like a VST that, or like a little VST effect that emulates VST plugin. I don't know, whatever the hell. Anyways, it emulates like a tube saturation, and it's like I've got a vocal compressor and stuff like that, and I do lots of like effects and stuff on it. This one I've got my Strymon timeline, and that one I've got, there's an additional like sort of an effects send channel that has a send out, and so this is mono, so it's only sending one out, but I can bring it back in stereo, so it comes back in stereo. That doesn't print to the tape, but when I go to mix this down into the computer so I can so I can listen to it in my car or whatever, that's what the last step is. I'll take the tape and dump it to my computer. In the old days, this would have just gone from this into another tape deck or something, which would have been your master tape. But instead, I like to do still a little bit of mastering. It doesn't take me too long, and it doesn't get me like lost in like all kinds of, you know, plug-in rabbit holes. So I use Ozone 8, which is a mastering software, and then I do a little bit of light mastering on it just to kind of make it sound like hot and leveled up, and then a little bit of EQ, because you get a lot of like weird frequencies, and try to cut out some tape hiss and whatever. And when I do that, when I dump it to the computer, that's when the effects will be recorded. So you need the outboard thing connected the whole time. But anyways, so I'm going to try to do a chorus. It'll sound kind of ridiculous, but then once I finish this song, what I'll do is I'll overdub once I get it mixed, so you'll see me lip syncing my own thing, so you don't hear me singing warbly and terribly and out of tune like I normally do while I'm doing this take. So you'll start to hear the music, and then you'll see me like kind of, actually it'll end up looking like I'm lip syncing it, but it'll be the take that I'm about to do now, so it should match up. All right, let's give it a shot. I've practiced it a couple of times, but I tend to screw up because I get exuberant and excited. But so yeah, anyway, so these lyrics, they're kind of about like that theme I was telling you. It's like I wanted to make it kind of uplifting and positive in my own way. So let's give it a shot. Here we go. Okay, so I tried it and I hated it. So writing is rewriting. So I took what I did yesterday. This is the next day actually. So my first batch of lyrics kind of blew, to say the least. I didn't like it. It sounded like a weak sauce version of Blink-182 or something. Didn't fit the band's vibe for sure, and the song does kind of have a bit of a pop punk feel, but I don't want it to be a complete pop punk song. I want it to be kind of at least aesthetically within the sort of dreary realm of the rest of the songs. So this one's kind of an anomaly. I don't know if it'll even make the cut of the album, but I'm going to take it again. I'm going to try this new chorus that I did, and then we'll see how that goes. So that's one lesson that I've learned, and one of the other aspects that I kind of like about recording this way is that by sort of forcing myself just to get something down on tape, it doesn't allow me the time to get too, obsessed over the lyrics. Just get something down, and then if it sucks, you can always redo it or rewrite it, and then you kind of gauge what works and what doesn't. So, first one sucked, let's give this one a shot. Here we go. I don't know, maybe, maybe. So now I'm gonna try and finish up the rest of the song. I'll finish the verses and everything and give it a shot. And like I said, you never know. Sometimes it's just throwing something against the wall and seeing what sticks. And actually a lot of the times when I write a song too, I have to kind of live with it for a little bit and listen to it and decide if it works or not. Sometimes, I'll write something down and it sounds cool in my head, and then I hear it on tape and it sounds lame. But other times I think I recorded something that sucks, and after listening to it for a little bit, I'm like, this isn't actually that bad. And then after a little while, I realized that it kind of worked for the song. So, I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to pretend I'm the world's greatest lyricist. I'm also, not trying to, impress anybody anymore. Now it's just all about stuff that I think is cool and that I like. And there's hopefully, a few other people out there that also might like this as well. But, it's just like music nowadays for me is just like painting where I'm not doing it to show off or impress or try to like, you know, win anybody over. It's just something that I'll put out into the world, and if there are people out there that like it, it's a way to make a connection. And if there are people that hate it, then there's plenty of other things to listen to. So yeah, that's it, man. Hope everybody has a wonderful new year. Hope you guys are all doing well, and I guess I will keep you guys posted as far as updates and stuff go on writing new songs and things. I'll show you more little progress reports of how this is all going. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys all next time. Thanks a lot.